Hello, hello, hello. Wow, it always feels so good to be back here. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, all right. Where to begin? My hair is crazy. Um, First of all, okay, let me just jump into the flow. It's always weird, like starting the live. I don't know why, but it's always it's just like a weird feeling for me. So much love to you all, always. I just always want to have this reminder that, you know, whatever you're going through, I know so many people are going through so much. There's just so much change, so much shift, so much transformation, so much upheaval all the time now. This is part of the evolution. So much feeling out of control, perhaps, releasing control, releasing old identities, releasing old stories, um, and jumping into the unknown and stepping into the unknown. And so I always just want to send people so much love and encouragement on their process, whatever you're going through. uh, just know, I just want to remind you that you are so loved. Hello, Apocalypse Theory, good to see you. What is happening? It's always a good question. We're gonna get into that. I guess this is gonna be kind of like an energy update. It's a lot of things that have been on my heart. I know it's been a while, but I think when I do come back, I always have a lot to share. It's on my heart that I really want to share. Just diving right into, suppose. Again, so much love to you. I just want to encourage you. I think it's really important to have these reminders, because sometimes what we go through really is so intense that we can perhaps lose touch with our center. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So, just a reminder, that there is this natural, organic, benevolent, universal force, whatever you want to call it, God, Source, Christ, the Tao. Um, it's the unnameable that's always within us, and we are always connected to it. And it's always trying to assist you, it's always trying to help you, in every now moment. Truly, it is. And, there's just a lot of ways in which we unwittingly, unconsciously cut ourselves off. And I think that's a big part of the evolution, is really just coming back home to God, returning to God. Um, and a lot of that is we've been in this paradigm of separation. I think that's a lot of, we talk about that a lot, just sort of the history of humanity and identifying with this separate self. It's such a crazy journey back home to who we really are. And I guess that's just what I want to talk about. So just a reminder, just to get that kind of like on the forefront, because I just know I've been seeing it so much in my own life and with other people, just the um, yeah, change, lots of change, lots of unknown, lots of surrendering to the mystery. And so I just want to have an encouragement there and a reminder that to remember who you really are again. God is within you always in the present moment. So let's see, just to dive into this. The biggest thing I want to talk about today is something that I've been just experiencing a lot of, and it's really dear to my heart, is the mysteries of forgiveness. Forgiveness is so powerful. It really has been blowing my mind. These are mysteries or lessons or experiences that, as a human, at least on a human level, I didn't ask for, but I've just been blown away by the medicine and the wisdom and the strength that is coming through from like really sitting with and contemplating the mysteries of forgiveness. Um, I think this is a big part of how we free ourselves, and I think it's a big part of how we free others from so much bondage that we unwittingly keep ourselves in or keep others in by really genuinely on deep levels forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. I had this message come through the other day of forgive your brothers and sisters so deeply so that they can forgive themselves. And I've really been sitting with that for a while, and it's really been sticking with me, the power of forgiveness. And just the ways, and this applies to us individually, but it also applies to kind of like the whole collective, I feel like, of hello everyone. It's so good to see you. Beautiful friends, beautiful souls. Um, Ashman, Richard, Cecil. Um, but anyway, sorry. I just love to see everyone on this, what is it, Wednesday afternoon. But it's just been really amazing. It's such a deep letting go. It's such a deep liberation. It's such a deep freedom. Um, there's just so many things, there's just so many attachments, I think, that we hold on to, and so much pain we hold on to. And when we hold these things, a lot of times it's unconscious. There's conscious things, maybe, like if you have a grudge towards something or someone, but I think a lot of times it's more unconscious, and it's just such a root of division within ourselves and division towards others. I mean, you can see it, the readiness, again, very unconsciously, the readiness, that in the shadows there can be to attack one another or attack ourselves. It's really the same thing. And I think a lot of it is identifying and holding on to this pain. And it doesn't mean that the pain isn't justified. I just, there's so many things I could say about this. I really invite you, to feel this. I was just having these experiences, where people can, where things or all these, these triggers come up, and I think forgiveness is in a lot of ways, it's like water that can kind of like cleanse this. So many things to say. I'm trying to kind of like find my flow here. Thank you for being patient with me. Yeah, because when you're tuned into this love that I want to talk about, this universal force of love that is real, that is within you, that is the most powerful thing. Genuinely, it's always there. It's just the fact that we've cut ourselves off from it, in a lot of ways. That's why, in a lot of ways, we're being asked to release control right now on new levels, because it's these control mechanisms that often it's how we unwittingly, as an ego, try to cut ourselves off. It's like we cut ourselves off from the natural flow of life that is always trying to help you and work things out for you. You know, it's so crazy. It's so interesting how we can lose touch with that. And when you really start to tune in with this beautiful force of love, and I think it's such an important practice to make this like the practice, genuinely in your life, whatever, again, you want to name it or call it, to have a deep, profound awareness of, again, this unnameable force, God, love, Christ, the Tao. There's so many names for it in your life, because when you're truly connected to it, you're always connected to it. But when you allow yourself to receive, it. You don't try to cut yourself off and try to just handle everything as an ego, but you're open to receiving this unshakable presence that's always within you. that's why it's so helpful to have these reminders, because it's really all it is we just need these reminders when we get pulled back into like the dream or the illusion. When you're tuned into this force of love and you really make that your main priority, you can go through anything. You can go through anything in this world and you can still be in touch with this love and this peace within yourself. And so I guess forgiveness ties into that in a lot of ways. It's just like getting to this point of you know, I've been speaking on it a lot in my own personal life, so it almost feels like exhaustive to me in a way. But um, when you get to the core of it, when just, it's just so true that holding things against yourself and holding these things against other people, it really just hurts you. It hurts you in so many ways. And like when we're able to genuinely tap into like the deep mysteries of forgiveness, genuinely just again and again, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, um, there's like a real unshakableness to that, because you remember who you really are. And any force that does harm to another or to itself genuinely knows not what it does. And that's not at all to say it's not a passivity. I think a lot of people think forgiveness is being passive or doing nothing, but it's easy to do nothing. It's hard to forgive. And forgiveness is a frequency, it's a vibration that is capable of genuinely healing and freeing us and healing and freeing others. So it's just so beautiful, because you just get to this point where it's like, what is the point of holding on to all these stories and attachments just to keep the pain alive, just to stay jaded, being jaded and being bitter, again, towards ourselves or one another? It really only hurts us. And it also blocks off our consciousness in a lot of ways from receiving, again, miracles, from receiving this universal benevolent force that's always trying to happen. It's like we just have to trust it and remember it and allow it to come in. So that's so beautiful. Thank you, Apocalypse Theory. Cool bracelets, by the way. They're so beautiful. Actually, I wanted to mention these. They're from Otter Spirit. I linked it in the description, but I got the Confidence Pack, and they're really beautiful. Every bracelet you buy, they donate $1 to the Otters, and just really beautiful, high quality bracelets. If you're looking for some genuine crystals, not fake ones, but actual genuine crystals. I've been noticing a huge difference in my energy just having these around, having these on. So I wanted to mention that. Really cool, really beautiful bracelets. Thank you. What else was I going to say on that? Yeah, just an amazing company. Highly recommend for you, or perhaps the women in your life, which I wanted to say. Feel free to share these videos with the women in your life. I feel like I would love to have more like just like feminine energies here. I feel like that would be really awesome. So, or just share it with anyone. But yeah, beautiful Otter Spirit. I linked it below because these I really love these bracelets. They're life changing, genuinely. So yeah, so back to the forgiveness thing. And I made another video of this. I haven't uploaded yet, but I'm going to. But it ended up getting cut off. But I wanted to just kind of elaborate more deeply in this. I think it has to do also with how we deal with what we call narcissistic energies. And this is a big thing, again, for us, like personally and as a species. This is a big part of like the shadows that are being seen right now, is like people seeing and accepting and coming to terms with and learning about, these forces, I guess, of narcissistic, of darkness, of manipulation. It gets pretty extreme on some levels. And I feel like I've been noticing more and more there's like these different phases that you kind of go through. And this is just, I'm always just speaking from my experience. I think the first phase is, for a lot of us, the first phase of dealing with the narcissistic energies is they actually take advantage of you, or, you experience getting taken advantage of, you experience the abuse, the manipulation, the gaslighting that all comes with it. And then the next phase is learning how to protect yourself. You start learning about these energies, and how they manifest. You start disengaging with them and learning how to have boundaries and how to protect yourself, and that's really important. And then I feel like the next step, that there's like another, then like an almost like another level of like spiritual maturity, and you can't really force this. It's just something that happens, where you just start to see it for what it really is. And it's one of those things where I noticed this a lot on my journey. It's almost like you become softer, but you become so soft that you're hard. It's like the softest thing is the hardest thing. You just begin to have a lot more compassion for people, for beings, because you genuinely see and understand that anyone or anything that is causing harm, again, to itself or to another, is in a lot of pain. It's in a lot of suffering. It's in a lot of illusion. And you get to this point of strength, and you know your worth, you know your sacredness, you know your love, you know the sacredness of all things and of all beings. And so it's almost like a higher level of seeing, that I think a lot of us are perhaps tapping into now, or maybe have been, or maybe will start to. Just having a lot more compassion. And it's so freeing. There's just so many ways. Like the forgiveness is so powerful. Don't sleep on forgiveness, because when you really contemplate forgiveness on a daily basis, of just not taking things so personal, not holding things against, like just letting this shit go, not having to hold all this stuff against yourself, not having to hold all this stuff against others. You free yourself and you free others from these stories, from these webs, from these thoughts, from these illusions. And I really believe that, when you're able to forgive others, you do help them internally, you help them to forgive themselves. And, that helps us to break free of a lot of, again, just these illusions, a lot of the shame, a lot of the pain, a lot of the prisons that we've been in. It is a prison, holding these hatreds in your heart, consciously or unconsciously, towards yourself or towards other beings. All it does is hurt you, and it just takes up space that, when you let it go, you will experience such a new level of freedom and liberation in a new reality, really. um, it's just flow. I think it's just part of getting back into the flow of life, back into the flow of the benevolent force, again, that's always within you and always trying to work with you, always trying to help you naturally work things out. And I guess a lot of this comes back to just being present and just letting go of the control of trying to control things, because the universe is out of control. That's just something that, it's just kind of how it works. But there is a divine order to it. And I think that's part of our evolution, is remembering that and tuning back into that and finding that flow again. And just tuning back in with the force of love. It's the ultimate protection, it's the ultimate guidance. It's the ultimate truth, in a way. I don't know, I've just been learning more and more, just like, again, on a deeper level, like the importance and the sacredness of being present and what's present, and how, these illusions or these distractions, will pull you into these kind of fabricated mental realities that you can just get lost in for like a lifetime. And coming out of that, coming out of the mind. And I want to share something too. There's a lot of things I want to share. Um, but just seeing whatever flows. But lately, I'm interested if you guys ever read this book, The Tao Te Ching. Lao Tzu is an interesting one. He's someone that's a spirit that's come into my life at random times. And I think Eastern, I don't think philosophy is the best word, but like the Eastern way of understanding the world, um, really like comes into my life from time to time, and it's so grounding, such grounding wisdom. So I highly recommend this book, especially if you are going through it and getting sucked into like extreme polarity, because polarity is a big thing right now. And I think a lot of what we're learning is more about being able to like stand in the polarity and be in our center. I don't think I think maybe in the long run, it's about, we're ascending like dimensions or whatever. But I think really like one of the most masterful things we can do is to be able to stand in this field that we're in, whether we're in the light or whether we're in the dark, and still be in our center and knowing who we are, not who we think we are in these identities that we have clung to. But it's an intense death. I don't know. I'm really curious. Always feel free, you guys, to share, to share in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, in the comments, share anything you've been going through, because it's really healing for people. A lot of people feel really alone in what they're going through. And you're so not alone. I mean, you're so not alone. And I hope that for everybody, you have people in your life, whether it's people or even if it's just like me or someone on the internet that you resonate with, that can remind you that you're not alone at all. I like to tell people that there's nothing wrong with you, because that's just coming back to this Tao. It's coming back to like some of this really ancient wisdom. It's just so grounding. It's so affirming, that again, there is such an intelligent, loving force that is you, that is connected to you, and it's trying to help you. It's trying to work with you always. And when things are falling apart, when things are happening that you don't understand, that scare you or confuse you or challenge you or make you question, who am I? Who even am I? When you're in those states, it's painful. It can be painful because it's a death. You don't have to bypass that part. There is no life without death, and that's what I mean. It's just, I feel like that's such an actual big theme right now, is just being able to stand in that polarity and just continue to allow God, to allow the Tao, to allow this force to naturally reveal everything that you need to know. There's nowhere you need to go. There's nowhere you can go. I mean, you can't escape it. There's nowhere to go to. There's nowhere to run to. You're here. You're just here. That's what's so crazy about these kind of like egotistical illusions, is if you're not present, and it's okay. It's like the contrast is also perfect. It's also part of it. You can get just swept into the mind. I kind of want to share some things in this book. I mean, it's really so good. I highly recommend it. It's so grounding. I mean, and it's so elegant. One of the things that's really stuck out to me is, I'll just read this little excerpt. Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready. You know, things like that. It's so grounding. And I really love that because that really hit me so deeply because I understand it's hard to watch the turmoil, whether it's the turmoil in yourself or watching the turmoil in others. And I've come to that um, realization several times in my life too, but I still need that reminder of the beauty of really knowing and remembering who you are and who we all are, and that we all do return back to God. And there's something about when you know I am the light I am, you know that you are. You know it, and you know that others are too, despite whatever illusions they may be like dwelling within their field. Um, I think it does them a service when you're able to see the light and be the light in yourself and see it in others too, despite the dream maybe they're in, despite the pain that they're in. And that's why, one of the things I've been just learning so much about forgiveness is it's just holding these things against ourselves and each other. It's just really not worth it. I mean, I don't think it really serves anything. And you can ask yourself, what is this serving? If you're holding on to something and maybe it's protecting you somehow. And I don't mean to say this as in bypassing, because I think that's something people misinterpret about the way that, these Eastern things are written. I don't think it's about, people think it's just completely detached. It's about doing nothing. It's about, um, it's naive. It's disconnected. But I think the real heart of it it's not about that. It's about living your life. It's like, it's again, it connects the East and the West is like the twain meet. It's like Jesus said, be in this world, but not of this world. It's like that. It's like live your life, have your, um, I guess, goals or intentions. There's always going to be these manifestations of the world. It's not to renounce that. It's just remembering what it is. It's a dream. it's not it's not the truth of who you really are, and you can get so caught up in that dream. And maybe that's fun, maybe that's what you want, but for many of us, I think, like, we're entering this phase where we honor that and we appreciate and we love that, but at the end of the day, who are we really? That's a question you can ask yourself. Who am I? I listen to Kyle C sometimes. I really like his teachings, and that's something he talks about a lot lately. Is like, instead of asking yourself, what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? Ask yourself, who am I? It's a whole new level. It's really letting go of like so many of these material illusions that are so deeply ingrained within us, but also just trusting the process of it all, because the process is so intelligent and sacred. And I think that's another place where we can get really hung up on, is not trusting our process or not trusting the process. And just today, I was bearing witness to something that I never thought I would have ever seen in my life, of a complete transformation of, something that was once absolutely so dark and wicked, even full of wickedness. Over the course of years, 5, 6 years, watching it be completely transformed into something so benevolent. And I'm just sitting here like, wow, it's things like that, and it reminds me of, I can't remember this Bible verse, but my friend Bianca was talking about it. Maybe one of you guys will know. I don't remember it, but basically it was saying that God will take evil that man created and end up using it for good. And I've been a witness to that, and I was just a witness to that. So it's things like that kind of connect with things like, the Tao, where it's like, what if there really is like a just very, we all say we believe in God, but it's like, do we really understand the immensity of what's happening and what we're capable of tuning into, and that we don't have to control everything, that we can actually trust what is arising in each now moment, And there is a simplicity in that, and there's a nobleness in that simplicity, that this is the truth. This moment, this is enough. It's enough. We don't have to have all these wants and needs. And again, it's not that we don't have desires, because again, that's the paradox of not wanting to desire is a desire. It's not that at all. It's more of a multidimensional seeming paradox of, you have these things, you have this human aspect, but you also make it a really, really, really focused practice to remember who you really are and to know who you really are. That you are God. You are God incarnated. You are source. You are so beyond this life. You're actually one with this benevolent force that is the truth. That is the real way. I don't know. I hope this makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me, but I hope it makes sense to you guys. I hope it's helpful. I wanted to try to keep this somewhat brief and articulate, even though I love being here. It's so good connecting with you guys and just sharing. But yeah, see if there's anything else. If you guys have anything you want to share. I just love forgiveness. It's just so beautiful. It's so liberating. It's so liberating, even on like little levels, because if you have relationships in any way with people, which you do, unless you're going to just lock yourself in like a cave, there's just naturally going to be these things that come up that are going to trigger you, or these things that are going to trigger other people. I've experienced this a lot where I feel like oftentimes I'm in my own lane. I feel like I'm in my own lane, and somehow I'm over here triggering all these people. And then, it makes me have to be like, man, like what's going on? And then that might trigger something in me. There's just so many weird things that things can happen. And so it's like, the way I see it is, regardless of what the situation is, if it's triggering something in me, I'm going to feel it. But then how am I ultimately going to respond? Let it be purified. Let it be purified. Let me forgive it. There's no point in holding on to it. There's literally no point. All it does, it is like holding hot rocks. It just hurts me. It blocks me off from receiving God, because I'm over here so bitter about what other people are doing or saying, that, I'm getting stuck on like this attachment, this dream. And again, it's like, you gotta be able to hold the center, the holisticness of it, where it's like, it's okay to feel it. It's not saying bypass it. It's saying, okay, ouch, that hurt me. But then it's also following it through that process of, okay, I'm ready to let that go now. It's not even who I am. It has nothing to do with me. Really, it has nothing to do with me. It's not personal. And really, it's an opportunity for me to let go even deeper of who I thought I was, that I'm not. I'm not this insecurity. I'm not this fear. I'm not this hatred. I'm not this bitterness. I'm not this powerlessness. I'm not this unworthiness. I'm none of that stuff, because that's what's getting triggered in you when we get triggered by something like that. So what an amazing opportunity it is, actually, when those things come up and you're able to forgive somebody, and you're able to forgive yourself, because forgiving yourself always seems to come first. A lot of times, even when you are betrayed, what really hurts the most is the feeling that you were able to let that happen to yourself. But I'm just saying, like, let it go. It's okay. It's really okay. Life keeps flowing on and on and on and on. It's only when we get stuck, when we fixate on something. And that's what I mean. That's why life can be so brutal, I think. One reason is that we're creator beings, and what we fixate on, it's like it just keeps kind of like generating. So like, when you fixate on a problem, you fixate on an attachment, you fixate on an illusion, because like your ego is probably trying to feel safe and control something, find something to grasp onto when there's nothing to even grasp onto, really. When you're in the truth, there's really nothing to grasp onto at all. and it's liberating, but it's the death of the ego naturally. um Forgot what I was saying, but maybe that was just the thought itself. um yeah, it's just an amazing opportunity to let go and to be free. Just let go and just let go and remember who you really are. I think that's the greatest thing, is being free, is liberation, getting out of the mind. That's what I was saying, is the mind will keep you in these rabbit holes, fixating on things. Life is literally, I think about this all the time now. Life is literally like a river. It's always flowing. You don't have to trust it. You don't have to trust that I hope the river keeps flowing. The river is just always flowing. This river of life, this river of God, the Tao, this river was never born. It never was born. It never dies. It's always been. It just is. It will eternally flow no matter what. Our human minds, our physical minds are not going to understand it most of the time. That's part of breaking out of the mind control, is the mind is not the one that's running the show here. The mind is the tool. So life is always going to keep flowing. Always. So it's like there's a wisdom in that you can be safe to allow things to be as they are, and allow things to fall apart, allow things to be reborn, allow things to um, grow and have their process, and not getting so hung up and attached to what you think you need to get out of it, and just let it be what it really is. There's a deep humility in surrendering to God, where it's not surrender to God so you can get what you want and what you think you need and what you think you should have. It's a surrender to God so you can surrender to God. And that's a holistic, full body surrender of like, what is arising is what is. And celebrating it, honoring it, choosing it, accepting it, flowing with the mystery. It's the mystery. The great mystery. That's another thing people call it. Trust, like trusting is the bridge to knowing, I suppose. Just knowing it, knowing that everything in your life, when you commit to the level that I'm talking about, which is what's in a way I feel really being asked of us. This is the return to God. It's a deep acceptance that whatever is arising is for your greatest good. Sometimes it's hard to even say words. It's for your potential. It's for your return to God. Everything that is happening in your life is literally designed for you to return to God. Whether it's some amazing miracle that you're experiencing right now, or whether you're like, everything in my life is falling apart, or these people are going off on me over here, or I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. That's a big thing. That's another big theme right now. If you're feeling that, don't feel alone. There's a lot of people who are like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Maybe nothing is sounding motivating. Maybe you don't even know who you are. You feel lost and confused. It's an advanced place to be, because it's the death of the old self, and you will never have a death without a rebirth. Everything is constantly flowing, I guess, is really just what I'm trying to say in these words. Everything is always flowing, and you can trust the divine flow. I guess and I'm still trying to find this, because what's interesting though about this day and age, and this is just part of my observations, I just want to share freely, obviously, so just take it how you need it. What's interesting about this age is we have this really, really, really intense mind grid that, we call the matrix. It's not just a mind grid, but I mean, to me, that's how it really appears. It's like a mind grid. And it's a really like deep system of like beliefs about, and it's kind of, in a way, I don't know if inorganic is the right word, but it's very, um, um, I guess, just low density. Like, it's very, very low density. It's very opaque. It's very artificial. And so I think there is a level of recognizing that and freeing yourself from that. Um, there are those kind of entanglements in this life, I think, that can get really confusing for people. But when you free yourself of that, and really the biggest thing is just connecting to God. It's so simple. I think that's why people don't like it. It's because it's so simple. It's so simple to just, more than anything, make this your priority in your practice, to focus on God, not just in your mind, to be so humble towards, because you don't understand, and thank God you don't, because it's so much more. Um, and it's so liberating, and it's who you really are. It's healing the separation, and it's always just present. It's like, it's so obvious that we miss it, but making that your biggest priority, to just genuinely, humbly, just like, that's what it feels like. It's just like, lay down all the illusions and the attachments, because all they're doing is killing you anyways. Just let it go, just lay it down, and allow God to show you what allow God, this benevolent universal life force energy that is truly you beyond this veil, allow it to show you. It will show you. It's always present here right now, and it's always trying to show you. And again, the human mind might not always understand it or even like what it's showing you. But that's why we have to be so humble and open our hearts to the truth, because it's always here. And when you make that your main practice, it's like a cheat code on life almost, because then it's like, whatever happens, it's like, why do you care? It's like, it's all meant to serve you. It's all part of your evolution. It's like, why even get stuck on it? It's like, you're slippery, you're smooth, you're adaptable. I think that's a big word, even historically, for evolution, is being adaptable. And you can really see the people that, I think the people that are genuinely the happiest people are the people who are extremely adaptable. They're flexible. They're able to have this sort of flow, this fluidity about them. And I'm telling you guys, it seems so necessary in this day and age, where everything is changing and transforming and being revealed. You get stuck on something, you fixate on something, you perpetuate something for some ungodly amount of time, because your ego just gets so hung up on it, and that's your freedom, and that's okay too, and that's also how we learn. There's nothing wrong in that. That's the contrast. But again, like, just recognizing, like, coming back to the center, being in your center, that's it. That's the epiphany, that's the awakening, that's the evolution, is just coming back to your center, coming back to who you really are, being able to stand in these intense fields of life where all this stuff is going on, you know, and just being able to flow with it all. I think that's the heart of this message today. And again, it ties in so much with forgiveness, because it's like, it's these resentments that we hold on to towards ourselves and towards others. Again, a lot of times they're unconscious. I'm not saying that we're resentful people. It's not even necessarily like that, but it's like deep in our deep in our psyche, deep in our core, deep in our bodies. They're oftentimes, you'll feel it. I mean, that's why triggers happen. It's like, you feel that, like, somebody triggers something in you, an insecurity, a fear, a doubt, an unworthiness, or an anger, or a victimhood. And when you have this, what I'm talking about, awareness, you start to just see it as an opportunity to be purified, and that's all it is. Let the attachments burn away to who you're not, and just kind of, it's almost, again, going back to this Eastern thing, the woo, I think it's way woo way. I might be saying that wrong, but there's a deep wisdom in letting things be as they are, and being very humble to understand that you don't necessarily know or have all the answers, but that there is a higher power that is also you, that does. And being open, this is the last thing I'll say, being open to receiving it. That was a revelation I also had recently, where it can be overwhelming, it can be overwhelming, all of this love, even. Or like, have you ever been in a situation where you actually get all the things that you asked for or the things you wanted? And it's amazing, but there's also can be like this sort of fear, even around that, even around receiving all of these things. So I don't know, I guess I just share that because there's a deep power, if you're feeling really overwhelmed, there's also a deep power in remembering to just be able to receive, being able to allow the flow, don't dam up the flow. That's what I mean. We cut ourselves off from the flow. We dam the flow off in our strange coping mechanisms that used to serve us, but as they come up, it's time to let them go and be free and free ourselves and free others and just stop holding ourselves hostage to these things. Stop holding each other hostage to these things. There's no sense. There's no sense in it. There's no sense in it. And it doesn't mean forgiveness does not mean being passive. It does not mean letting people violate you at all. But when you tap into the genuine spirit of forgiveness, it takes you to a level that's invincible, actually. That you can actually reach these levels of such compassion, again, such softness, that you're the hardest thing. It's really strange. It's really strange that it works like that, but there's a lot of things like that, because you're just seeing it, because you know who you are. And I think that's a big part of how Jesus Christ was able to walk this earth, is that he was so completely connected and tuned in and embodied with who he was, God. And that's what he was trying to teach. He was so tuned into that it allowed him this extreme infinite power and grace, the power to do so many miraculous things, that are hard to imagine. The power to look evil right in the eye and not bat an eye, all of these amazing things. So I think that's everything. Thank you all so much. So much love to all of you. That's all I just want to share. I just want everyone to feel this love, because when you feel the love of God, you know who you are and you don't need anything else. You don't need anything. You don't need anything from anyone. You don't need people to do what you want them to do. You just realize it's all such an illusion. Just let people be. Just let yourself be. There's a wisdom in that. There's a genuine wisdom in that. And again, I want to repeat what I said earlier, that, even with these things, like, God will take what you think is evil and bad and use it for good if you just let it happen and be open and receptive to God, because God is always within you. And this whole thing of like being paranoid about stuff is just giving the evil way too much credit. It's just giving the evil way too much power. And that's really where I think we've been unconsciously for a long time. And again, it's okay to feel that. I think we all have to go through that phase. Again, like, we have to go through these journeys, these processes, to genuinely know, because it's like I can sit here and say all this stuff, but it's not going to land unless you've actually been through these experiences where where you genuinely know. But it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is. It's amazing to be tuned in with this force of love and just trust that everything that's happening really is for your highest good, even when you don't understand it, especially when you don't understand it. Because I know for myself, and I still experience this, even in those deepest moments of contrast, if I'm feeling so overwhelmed or scared or confused or whatever the case may be, I just have to keep doing the workings of love, which is just loving myself, loving others, following, trusting. And it always leads to such an amazing realignment, a deeper alignment, a deeper reconnection, a deeper clarity, a purification. The purification of, again, like, these just illusions that I know myself, and for probably everyone listening, it's like we're just ready to let them go. So freedom, it's freedom time. We love genuine liberation. and the way that we're capable of freeing ourselves and again freeing others. I think that's so cool to be able to free others by forgiving them, you know, because again, those who do harm truly know not what to do. And that doesn't mean that it's an excuse to be trampled on. But what again, just to reiterate, when you reach this level of inner power and worth and connection, when you really are tapped into that, it's like you're not naive. It's not that you're naive. You're just you're just so powerful in a way, in a humble way. You're so powerful that it's like you're just seeing things from a new level, and you're connected to God, and you're when you're connected to God, you're connected to the unshakable part of you, to the invincible part of you. That's like, you know, and when you really know that, and this is a practice, as is everything, you practice this deep, like it's the main thing. There's really nothing else to worry about. You know, in my experience, there's really nothing else to worry about. It's like when you're present and you understand what I'm saying, you trust God for real. You trust God, what God is doing for you, what God is moving around, what God is giving you, what God is taking from you, whatever. What do you care? Like, really, what do you care? What are you getting so attached to? What are you getting so worked up about? You know, it's really like, it's just trust it, just flow with it. Have your emotions, let them flow. Have your reactions, let them flow. But when you really come back to your center, you're going to have the same attitude. It's unchanging. It's like, yeah, it's, you know. Yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing. Just trust it. Trust it. I mean, our human minds are so puny sometimes. Like, we just really can't understand the immensity of God and the love of God and what God is trying to do for us at all times. No matter how badly your life is like falling apart, like it's still there. And I think we all can relate that a lot of times, you know, it's easier to see in retrospect than when you're going through it, but whenever your life is falling apart or whenever things feel the toughest, whenever things feel the crunchiest, I can say from my own personal experience that every time that happens, as I follow it through, it ends up being the most miraculous thing. And it's just this process of life that flows. And yeah, it's like we're like water. It's like we're becoming genuinely like water in this flow state, you know, becoming so soft that we're invincibly hard. You know, it's not getting caught up and fixated on these things, just keeping the movement going and letting it flow and keep learning, keep being humble, keep remembering who you are. When you remember who you are, there's nothing that anyone can really even necessarily give to you or take to you. And that's the paradox, you know, is like you're in this level where everyone's always giving and taking, giving and receiving, giving and receiving. And you don't have to detach from that. That's just part of the world. But then you're also simultaneously on this level where you realize that none of it is real in that way, you know? It's just the eternal now moment that was never born and will never die, despite the infinite forms that, at least where we're at right now, it will take infinite forms. There's so many manifestations, so many positive manifestations, so many negative manifestations. It's like, you know, that's just the flower of it, you know, that's just like the expression of it. The expression, the infinite forms of expression of what always actually is, though, you know, it's like that's the root of it. That's the heart. That's the center. You know, that's who you really are. And so it's like we can play in all these things, but just remember who you really are. I freaking love you guys so much. I really do. You are so loved. That's another thing. Like, I wish I could just tell people that so much. Like, I wish I could just tell people, like, how loved they are, you know. First of all, from God, from Source, from this infinite intelligence that adores us all and genuinely just wants, you know, just wants us to remember that. And also, you're so loved by so many others. You know, people in your life you probably don't even know, and maybe they don't even know. how genuinely deep you have impacted them, and how much you mean to them, and even strangers, even people you don't know, even, I suppose even me in a way, maybe we've never met, but it's like so much love to you for being here. Like, I see you, I honor you, I trust you, I trust your process, and I thank you for being here. Um, just connect back to the center, connect back to the love. That's the heart of the message. I just see people get so suffering because they go on these tangents, and that's fine, that's okay, but just remember who you are, and you realize you're not a victim at all. It's like, man, why was I so tripping? When you really tap into the love and make that your main priority, because that's all that really is true. It's like, remember that love. That love is unafraid of anything, no matter how light or dark it is. It's like the love is always there. It's just unstoppable. Don't give the evil so much power. That's how I feel. God will take that evil and use it for good. What else? What else? What else? If there's anything else. Just have a beautiful day, everyone, I hope. I also just opened sessions back up for a little bit, maybe just for a week, probably not for a super long time, because I'm going to be having a lot of movement again in my life, literally. So, yeah, if that's something, there's the Transforming the Darkness sessions, which is just sort of a intuitive flow, because that's, the magic, seeing what the space has to offer, and giving, you an opportunity to be seen, to share whatever you need to share. And it's just divine, it's so beautiful. I really love that. I really love not having to be in control of everything. It's actually really liberating, because when you let go of control, it's like if you're an artist, for example, you're a poet, it's like the poetry writes itself. You kind of just receive it. If you're a musician, that's how I feel. It's like the best songs I've written have been ones that I'm like, I just wrote that in 5 minutes. I wasn't even there. Like, who did that? It's like, and when I get on here, I always, if you notice, like, I feel like in the beginning, I'm always awkward because my ego is like, what are we doing? And then it's like, all I have to do is open up and receive the flow, and just trust that even if I don't understand it, even if I don't know why I'm saying it, there's a reason. It's helping someone, it's resonating with someone. And I get feedback like that all the time, but still my ego is like, what's the point in saying that? I don't know. Just trust it. Just allow it, just allow yourself to be like an instrument for God, for real. That's what's so tricky though, is because our egos, our spiritual egos, will be like, I want to be an instrument for God. And our spiritual egos, so cunning, so tricksy, they'll have this whole notion of like, okay, I'm going to be a vessel for God, so that means I need to do these things. And that can be helpful. Sometimes that can be the finger pointing to the moon, as they say. It can be like the raft that gets you to the next level, but you're going to learn again and again and again to remember to stay humble to what God actually is guiding you towards, because it's going to be even better and even more unlimited than what your human mind is capable of understanding. So that's intense. I say a lot of this stuff so nonchalantly, but I know that it can be really intense and it can be really hard, but you can do it, and we can all do it, and we are doing it. So hallelujah. It's beautiful. Really amazing. Um, yeah. So much love to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. It's so amazing to come into the heart and start to let the mind go, because the mind literally will have its own tangents, man. It's crazy. You ever do that? Do you ever go into like a mental tangent? And it can happen for like a few minutes, or it can happen for weeks. It can happen for years, really. And I feel like that's part of what the mind control is. It's like a mind tangent, and it's a little bit extra because it's like kind of designed specifically to break the human psyche. But we're resilient. We are extremely resilient, and that's why we're here, is to break that, and not be so controlled by the mind. Come into the heart, come into the presence, Simplicity is okay. You know, it's really okay to just be and to just be in what is. Crazy, right? It's revolutionary to just be in what is. So simple yet so profound. And guess what? New things will arise. And just trusting it all. It's amazing. So that's what I have today. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. You are so loved. Can't say it enough. I literally just want to pour so much love into everyone because I'm so thankful, you know. And that's another thing. I always do this. That's another thing. Is like when you receive this love, all you want to do is all you genuinely want is for all beings to receive this love. And so it's hard to have hatred in your heart or bitterness or jadedness. It's just all so pointless. It just feels so pointless. But the mind will sit here and want to take scorn. But the heart is just eternally flowing. Yeah, so again, sessions are open again for maybe a week or so. If you want to get in on that, the Transforming the Darkness sessions flow, and the quantum healing sessions, which is really powerful, you guys. Don't sleep on that. I mean, that really changes people's lives because that's something that if you have a lot of just dense attachments, it's just the easiest way to clear them. And I'm not just saying that, it really is. You know, people always have amazing, profound. I mean, I've gotten crazy feedback from experiences people have just from clearing out. It's just I think there is a level where you have to kind of one way or another pull yourself out of the artificial matrix grid because it's it's like a matrix within a matrix. And I think that can get people really confused. And once you clear yourself out of that, you just feel the Tao. You just feel the Tao, and that's all it is. So that's all it is. Is this flow. Yeah, so I love to work with you. Would love to work with you. Would love to meet you. Other than that, yeah. And I'll mention these bracelets again. Really, really amazing, genuine crystals. I mean, they're just absolutely beautiful from Outer Spirit. Have a code, right? All caps, Reagan20, get 20% off. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep moving and grooving and loving. You guys are amazing. See you next time. Have a beautiful day.